Okay, so we're home, and it was a great trip out to Washington D.C. and it was a lot of great things that happened there. We met some wonderful people at the church and stuff. But I want to talk specifically about when Amanda and I got to go to Washington D.C. one evening. We were going to go and just for a date night over there, and we had made reservations at the Hell's Kitchen there by the wharf, Fisherman's Wharf in D.C., and we were almost there. It was a snowstorm. The city was abandoned, other than Secret Service and police officers and all the dignitaries that were there, because it was the anniversary of January 6th, where they had the riots and everything like that. So I don't know if they were expecting problems or just because there was a lot of foreign dignitaries and everything there. But anyway, it was literally us and a few stragglers that braved the storm, and police and emergency vehicles and some black SUVs that would show up. We actually got to see one motorcade leaving the city probably after the memorial service there or no, that was the next day, I guess. So anyway, the point is, we got there and they canceled the reservation because they couldn't get anybody to work at the restaurant. They couldn't get anybody in to work at the restaurant. The roads were that bad. We're used to driving in this, but a lot of the people there maybe weren't used to it. So it was, we were having a ball. And so we started driving around just to see what we could see and see the sights. Now, all the museums were closed. The city was buttoned up. There was hardly anything open, and there was hardly anybody in the city except for, like I said, just us and a few other stragglers. But there's, this is the capital, and Amanda had never been there. And for some reason, when I visited when we were kids, when I was a kid, and when I say a kid, I mean I think it was 17 maybe, 17 or 18. And I was so fascinated with the city and with the museums and everything. And I loved maps and everything as a kid, and we grew up traveling and everything. So I learned the map of the city of Washington, D.C. like the back of my hand. I studied the map after we left, and I knew where everything was. I knew exactly where all the monuments were, and I committed that to memory back when I was like 17 years old, and I'm not sure why, but it was just something that I had interest in. And I always loved geography and cartography and mapping and things like that. So anyway, for some reason I committed all this to memory. I literally drove around that city that night and just took Amanda to all of the monuments to see without even, how you kind of instinctively kind of know where things are, and I drove right to them. Now, there was no traffic at all to speak of, but the police officers were still there, and they were like, when I say police officers, I mean there was a police car or a police van or a police presence at almost every single block. There was a car with lights on going, and they were watching everything that happened. So we pull up to the side of the Capitol. First of all, we come around from behind. Fisherman's Wharf back there is behind the Capitol building, on the Supreme Court side of the Capitol building. So if you can imagine, the Capitol building was actually built before the rest of the city built up around it, the rest of the town. So the Capitol building and the statue that's on top and everything is facing the other way towards the Supreme Court. And then the rest of the city built up around it, and everything grew out the opposite direction. So the building is kind of backwards. So we came in from what would be the front side of the Capitol building and drove right between the Capitol building and the Supreme Court building, pulled off on the side there, and then we wanted to get a picture. It was snowing. It was beautiful. The pictures are amazing. It was gorgeous. So we pulled in kind of close, the first little pull off right there, as we got around right bent to the back side of the Capitol, and I jumped out of the car, and there was a police officer there, and he pulled the cruiser forward a little bit so I couldn't get past him, and he didn't know what I was doing. But I walked up to the window and I said, hey, can we take a selfie real quick with the Capitol building behind us? And he said, you can take a selfie, but you have to move your vehicle right now. And I said, okay, we'll just take a selfie. And he goes, look, I don't think you understand. He reiterated again, move your car. Your car cannot stay there. So we weren't taking a selfie right there. We had to jump back in the car, and we jumped in, and we went down the road. So that was the only time we really got ran off from anything. After that, I think they must have radioed ahead and said there's these crazy people from Michigan, and they're just trying to take pictures. Because from that point on, we drove up down that side there. I caught Pennsylvania Avenue, and I said, well, let's go up and see if we can see the White House. We got all the way up really close to the White House, and they have all these big crash gates and everything in front of everything now, so you can't see a whole lot through. Plus, it was snowing so much that unless you got right up close to something, it was very blurry and you couldn't see it very well. So it made for beautiful pictures. It was gorgeous. So we got up by the White House. I turned right because I couldn't get all the way in, where the White House Visitor Center is right there on the east wing. So I pulled up to the right, went up the hill, and we found a cheesecake factory that was actually open. They actually had the restaurant open. So we ate dinner there, had our date night. We were like a couple little kids in the city just running around. It was just a great time. And from there we went down. We got our picture with the Washington Monument. And then she took a bunch of pictures of just the architecture there is gorgeous and it's beautiful to see. Went down to the Lincoln Memorial, which when I was there before, I never got to see the Lincoln Memorial. We never made it down that far. And so Amanda got out of the car. I just pulled off the side of the road. No parking anywhere there. I got off the side of the road, basically parked in a snowdrift, and she went on foot up and got a picture of the statue in the Lincoln Memorial up the stairs there. And then she ran back, and her hair was all full of snow and everything. And we jumped back in, and then we went around behind the Lincoln Memorial and went up the other side and got to see the Jefferson Memorial. And everything just worked out for us because we were pulling in. Everything was closed, right? All the parks and everything, all these monuments were closed to the public. But we were able to get pictures of everything. We went to go pull into the little park where you can see the Jefferson Memorial across the Potomac. And as we pull into the little park there, it's like it's not even supposed to be open. But there was a news crew that was out there doing a weather forecast or whatever, or weather report. And they had all the big lights out and the snow was falling. The guy's out there with the microphone doing his thing. So we just kind of snuck in where they were, parked kind of across from where they were, and then we walked through the snow and over the drift and took a picture of the monument across the Potomac there. And it was just a really neat experience. The other thing I didn't get to do last time I was there was see the Pentagon. I've always wanted to see the Pentagon. And we just, as we were leaving town, I happened to go right out that way, and we drove up right next to the Pentagon, which was really cool. But anyway, seeing the monuments is really great. And, I'm a patriot at heart. I love the United States, and Amanda really had a great time seeing that. But I think the most fun is that we were just a couple people just having the time of our lives, and we didn't care what the weather was doing. And we were just in love and having a night together. And it was just, it's something I'll never forget. It was a really great experience together. So that was that time. And then we came home, and I can talk more about all the stuff that's happened since we've gotten home in the next video, but that was a special one. So hopefully you enjoyed the pictures as I was sharing them along the way here. But that's basically what happened in the snowstorm in the nation's capital. Have a good night.